Eden was born on August 23, 1931, amidst the sunny landscapes of Tucson, Arizona, into the care of Alice Mary, formerly Franklin, and Hubert Henry Moorhead. Remarkably, she can trace her lineage back to the illustrious Benjamin Franklin. Despite historical confusion, her true birth year is 1931, not the previously believed 1934. Following her parents' separation, Eden and her mother relocated to San Francisco, where Alice found love anew with Harrison Connor Huffman, a telephone lineman. Together, they welcomed Eden's half-sister into the world. As you might imagine, Eden's formative years unfolded in San Francisco's Parkside enclave. She was regaled with tales of her family's deep roots spanning 4 generations in the city. Stories of her ancestors' journeys from covered wagons to clipper ships filled her childhood. However, the Great Depression cast a shadow over the family, limiting their access to luxuries. But there was one silver lining: Alice's melodic voice. It provided solace, entertaining her children with songs. Eden fondly recalls the musical ambiance that permeated their household. Little did she know it would influence her also. And just like that, little Eden began to sing and develop an interest in performing. But first, her journey into performance began in the church choir, where she captivated listeners with her solos. During her teenage years, she lent her voice to local bands, earning $10 per night in nightclubs. At just 16, she joined Actors Equity, embarking on formal training in singing with Paulina Giovannini at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music and honing her acting skills at the Elizabeth Holloway School of Theater. In 1949, Eden graduated from Abraham Lincoln High School in San Francisco and pursued further studies in theater at City College of San Francisco. Under the moniker Barbara Huffman, she claimed the title of Miss San Francisco in 1951 and ventured into the Miss California pageant, setting the stage for her remarkable journey ahead. But little did she know that her journey ahead was going to be filled with more challenges than she could ever imagine, and secrets and tragedies that would shape her life and change her forever. Hollywood looked down on her. When Barbara Eden set her sights on Hollywood, she encountered the harsh reality of misogyny entrenched within the industry, particularly concerning her physical appearance. In a candid interview with the Sydney Morning Herald, she recounted a distressing encounter with a talent scout at Warner Brothers. This scout callously displayed an image of his daughter, insinuating that Barbara needed to enhance her bust size to match his daughter's proportions. Barbara found herself disheartened by this crude advice, yet she endeavored to maintain optimism about her career trajectory. Reflecting on the incident, she remarked, "I put it in perspective and realized that not every part is written for a big-busted woman, so I decided to be a character actress." This resilient attitude speaks volumes about Barbara's determination to forge her own path despite the obstacles. In a subsequent interview with the Spokesman Review in 1989, Barbara revealed that the story took an unexpected turn. Approximately 6 months later, she encountered the same talent agent on the Warner Brothers lot. Astonishingly, he failed to recognize her. However, instead of dwelling on the past encounter, he expressed interest in her potential, declaring, "We're going to screen test you. You're going somewhere." She was harassed by a powerful married man. As she passed through the corridors of Hollywood, Barbara Eden's journey encountered a surprising twist early in her television career, teaching her a valuable lesson about meeting one's heroes. As a guest star on the beloved sitcom I Love Lucy, she found herself caught in an unexpected scenario involving none other than Desi Arnaz, the charismatic co-star and husband of Lucille Ball. Amid the bustling energy of rehearsals, Barbara allegedly found herself the subject of Desi's persistent advances, to the point where she felt compelled to take evasive action, quite literally hiding from him. Despite her amiable nature, Barbara staunchly adhered to her personal boundaries. Based on her background, she was incredibly principled and was not afraid to say it. In her words, "Now, I'm not a prude, but as far as I've always been concerned, married men are completely out of bounds to me." However, she could not deny the fact that Desi's persistent pursuit presented a challenge for her. On one hand, he was more popular than her, and if she kept directly rejecting his advances, he could make her life in Hollywood considerably difficult. She decided to do what any other smart woman would do, devise a plan to keep his unwanted advances at bay, and just like that, she came up with a basic yet effective solution: dodging his presence whenever he appeared, skillfully evading unwanted encounters. Fortunately, by the time they stepped onto the set to film their anticipated dancing scene together, Desi seemed to have grasped the unspoken message, allowing Barbara to breathe a sigh of relief. Regardless of all these, however, Barbara maintained a positive rapport with Desi's wife and comedy legend, Lucille Ball. Renowned for her impeccable comedic timing, Barbara earned Lucille's admiration, leading to discussions about potentially offering her a coveted contract. Recalling her interactions with the comedy icon, Barbara expressed a mix of awe and gratitude, emphasizing Lucille's kindness and generosity. In a touching gesture of camaraderie, Lucille extended a warm invitation into her dressing room, where she lent her expertise to enhance Barbara's on-screen appearance, adorning her dress with sparkling accents for added flair during their dancing sequence. Her drama of love. Amidst the whirlwind of Barbara Eden's burgeoning career, her friends and managers saw fit to nudge her toward the world of celebrity romance. In a candid interview with the Sydney Morning Herald, she disclosed her openness to the idea of being set up on a date, leading to a fateful encounter with Michael Ansara, renowned for his role in the hit TV show Broken Arrow. From the moment they met, sparks flew and a deep connection blossomed between Barbara and Michael. She reminisced fondly, remarking, "I fell madly in love, as he was a kind man and a wonderful actor." Their mutual admiration for each other's talents and personalities laid the foundation for a promising romance. However, Barbara's romantic entanglement took a complicated turn as she found herself already committed to another, Tony, a humble refrigerator delivery man. When she mustered the courage to break the news to Tony, his reaction was far from favorable. Struggling to cope with the rejection, Tony's demeanor grew increasingly unstable, prompting Barbara to take drastic measures to protect herself. According to her memoir, Barbara was compelled to enforce a ban, preventing Tony from accessing the studio lot where she worked, fearing for her safety. The situation escalated to a harrowing climax when Barbara received a distressing phone call from Tony one fateful night, revealing his intentions of self-harm. In a display of solidarity and compassion, Barbara and Michael sprang into action, racing to intervene and prevent tragedy. Their swift response ultimately saved Tony's life, bringing relief amidst the chaos. Reflecting on the ordeal, Barbara wrote, "To our great relief, Tony ultimately survived, but from that night on, I viewed Michael with new respect." Through adversity, Barbara's bond with Michael deepened, revealing the strength of their partnership in navigating life's unpredictable twists and turns. Eventually, the two lovebirds got married and prepared for a beautiful life together, but again, fate had other plans. She suffered a devastating loss. In 1971, Barbara Eden faced a devastating blow when she tragically lost her second child. Recounting the heart-wrenching experience in People magazine, she revealed, "I carried my second son for almost 8 months before the doctors told me he had died in the womb." Despite the profound grief and physical toll of this loss, Barbara made the courageous decision to return to work immediately. However, beneath the facade of resilience, Barbara grappled with a silent struggle that gnawed at her well-being. She confessed to enduring weight loss and grappling with deteriorating mental health, yet remained oblivious to the underlying cause. Reflecting on this period, Barbara lamented, "I'd come home and look at my little boy who's adorable and think, I'm so lucky. I have this sweet child. I have a husband who loves me. What's wrong with me? And nobody told me what was wrong with me." In the era preceding widespread awareness of mental health issues, Barbara's suffering remained shrouded in silence, compounded by the lack of understanding and resources for addressing postpartum depression. The prevailing cultural norms discouraged seeking psychiatric help, leaving Barbara to navigate her anguish alone. As she grappled with the aftermath of her miscarriage, Barbara found herself confronting the toll it exacted on her marriage to Michael Ansara. Candidly acknowledging the impact, she confessed, "My deep depression destroyed our relationship." The hidden trauma of her loss cast a shadow over their union, unraveling the bonds that once held them together. She could not deal with the pain she was feeling, and she wondered how her husband, Michael, and her first son, Matthew, seemed to be handling it well. Despite the fact that her husband was supportive of her through it all, she couldn't shake the sad feeling of the loss, and sadly, not only did it take a toll on her marriage, it led to yet another devastating loss, this time not physically, but a mental loss that would alter the lives of their family and break them apart. Ugly divorce with Michael and Sarah. Barbara Eden's marriage to Michael and Sarah spanned 15 years, yet when tragedy struck their union in the form of a miscarriage, it left a certain strain on their relationship. In her candid memoir, Barbara reflected on the profound impact of this loss, revealing, "Michael and I did try to talk about our marital problems, but every time we talked, the chasm between us grew deeper." Despite their efforts to bridge the emotional distance, Barbara ultimately made the difficult decision to seek a divorce. This revelation blindsided Michael, marking the end of their marriage in 1973. The aftermath of their separation was marked by heartache and transition, particularly for Barbara, who embarked on a new chapter of her life by remarrying and relocating to Chicago. The geographical distance proved to be a hurtful reminder of the familial bonds left behind, especially concerning her son, Matthew, whose custody now rested with his father. Barbara's heart ached with the knowledge that their divorce had profound repercussions on Matthew, as she later discovered. Reflecting on this painful realization, she lamented, "I still regret our divorce because the repercussions it would one day have on Matthew would turn out to be cataclysmic." In hindsight, Barbara grappled with the weight of her decisions, longing for the clarity of foresight that would have guided her actions differently. Her introspection resonates with a sense of longing and remorse, underscoring the complexities of love, loss, and the enduring impact of life's pivotal moments. As she decided to move on with her life with another man, she believed that it would heal her heart and cause her pain to disappear. But sadly, she couldn't be more wrong. Second marriage failed. Barbara Eden's second venture into matrimony proved to be short-lived, as she candidly shared with the Sydney Morning Herald. Reflecting on her initial attraction to Chuck Fiegert, she recalled feeling drawn to his charismatic charm and companionship amid the loneliness following her first divorce. Chuck, with his good looks and intellect, seemed to offer a glimmer of hope for a fresh start. In the whirlwind of romance, Barbara found herself swept off her feet by Chuck, who worked in marketing. However, the euphoria soon dissipated when, after 8 months together, she discovered a painful truth. Chuck was still legally bound in marriage to another. Despite his assurances that divorce proceedings were imminent, the revelation struck Barbara with a profound sense of betrayal. She felt like she was being used, and like a big fool. In her memoir, Barbara recounted her mother's lingering disapproval of Chuck, whose persuasive rhetoric failed to assuage her skepticism. Despite his efforts to win over her family with his slick salesmanship, underlying issues began to surface in their relationship. Barbara noted Chuck's insatiable thirst for attention and pursuit of fame, which gradually escalated into more troubling behavior. As their marriage progressed, Barbara found herself increasingly isolated and vulnerable to Chuck's downward spiral. His involvement in a lifestyle marred by substance abuse and abusive behavior left her with no choice but to walk away. In her interview with the Sydney Morning Herald, Barbara revealed the heartbreaking reality of her decision. "Once we married, he began to run with a crowd that drank and used substances. He then became abusive, so I left." It could be argued that Barbara never really loved Chuck. She met him in a state of vulnerability when she needed a different shoulder to cry on and feel some type of fresh love. She was apparently blinded to Chuck's flaws and sort of rushed into marriage with him. Sadly, it didn't end well, and Barbara learned her lesson. But while she had faced a lot in her life up till this point, fate wasn't quite done with her just yet. The horrible ailment of Barbara's mother. It was no secret that Barbara Eden's bond with her mother was one of unwavering support and inspiration, rooted in the melodies of their shared moments. Reminiscing about their evenings spent harmonizing to Gilbert and Sullivan tunes while tackling household chores, Barbara fondly recalled, "Each night we'd do dishes and she'd sing Gilbert and Sullivan duties. I'd join in and, through her, developed a passion for singing. She always encouraged me, and I knew she was there for me." Tragically, their harmonious melody was disrupted when Barbara's beloved mother received a devastating diagnosis of lung cancer in 1986. Barbara's heartache is palpable as she reflects on the cruel ordeal her mother endured, writing in her memoir, That final illness was cruelly drawn out and caused her a great deal of pain and suffering. Yet amidst the sorrow, Barbara discovered a profound admiration for her mother's resilience in the face of adversity. She marveled at her mother's stoic resolve, even as she concealed the ravages of her illness. Barbara revealed, "I later learned through one of her friends that she had been having difficulty breathing at night for a very long time beforehand, but she continued to ignore her symptoms and never gave me a clue either. My guess is that she simply followed her own dictate and rose right above it, until of course it was impossible for her to do so anymore." Through her mother's example, Barbara learned not only the beauty of music, but also the resilience of the human heart in the face of life's most profound challenges. The ailment undoubtedly put a strain on Barbara and slightly affected her life and career afterward. But while all of this was going on with her mother, there was something even more awful going on with her first son, Matthew. Her son's ugly addiction. Upon her return to Los Angeles in 1983, Barbara Eden was confronted with a heart-wrenching reality. Her son, Matthew Ansara, bore little resemblance to the vibrant, joyful boy she once knew. Recounting the distressing discovery to ABC News, Barbara lamented, "He wasn't the happy, warm boy that I'd known." Unbeknownst to his parents, Matthew had been grappling with a hidden struggle, a secret drug addiction that had plagued him since the tender age of 10. The revelation of Matthew's addiction shook Barbara to the core, leaving her grappling with a profound sense of shock and remorse. Reflecting on the ordeal to the Sydney Morning Herald, she asserted, "It should never have happened." Barbara traced the origins of Matthew's descent into an addiction to a neighbor in the San Fernando Valley, who introduced him to marijuana, a gateway to a harrowing journey of substance abuse. The painful truth that drugs had infiltrated her son's life at such a tender age pierced Barbara's heart. She adamantly declared, "At no time should drugs be available to children," expressing her anguish over the insidious influence that had ensnared her son's innocence. In a united effort with her ex-husband, Michael Ansara, Barbara embarked on a relentless mission to rescue Matthew from the grips of addiction, sending him to rehab multiple times over 14 tumultuous years. However, their efforts were met with the agonizing realization that addiction is a formidable adversary, resistant to easy solutions. Barbara's journey as a mother navigating her son's addiction was fraught with anguish and uncertainty. Despite her unwavering love, she was forced to resort to tough love, issuing an ultimatum to Matthew: abstain from drugs or leave their home. The heart-wrenching decision led to Matthew's transient periods of homelessness, leaving Barbara torn between maternal concern and the necessity of enforcing boundaries. Through the turmoil of Matthew's addiction, Barbara's unwavering love and determination to help her son remained steadfast, even as she grappled with the painful reality of his struggle. Because she loved him so much, that phase of her life was the hardest she'd ever had to bear. But unknown to her, it was about to get even worse. The tragic end of a chapter. The year 2001 marked a devastating turning point in Barbara Eden's life, forever altering the course of her existence with the loss of her beloved son, Matthew Ansara, to a heroin overdose. Matthew's tragic passing cast a shadow of profound grief and anguish over Barbara's world, shattering the semblance of normalcy she had fought to maintain. At the time of his death, Matthew had been striving for sobriety, immersed in the pursuit of his passion as a bodybuilder, and relishing in the promise of a future with his fiancée. The suddenness and finality of his demise blindsided Barbara, leaving her grappling with the incomprehensible reality of his absence. Recalling the heart-wrenching moment to ABC News, Barbara revealed, "Apparently he had taken a hit of heroin, and he hadn't had it in quite a while, I guess. It ended him. It stopped his heart." The weight of Matthew's loss bore heavily upon Barbara's shoulders, inflicting upon her a burden of guilt and self-blame that threatened to consume her. In a candid admission to People magazine, she confessed, "I don't think there's anything worse than to lose your child. As a parent, I had a lot of guilt and anger." Yet amidst the depths of her despair, Barbara found solace in reaching out to other parents grappling with similar tragedies, recognizing the importance of communal supports and understanding in navigating the complexities of grief. Through her advocacy and outreach efforts, Barbara sought to impart a message of hope and resilience to parents facing similar struggles, urging them not to shy away from vigilance and tough love in guiding their children away from the perils of addiction. Reflecting on her son's memory, Barbara painted a poignant portrait of Matthew as a beautiful human being inside and out, whose essence continued to resonate within her heart, despite the passage of time. She tenderly expressed, "Even though he was 35, he was still my baby." In the aftermath of Matthew's passing, Barbara grappled with a myriad of emotions, grappling with the haunting specter of regret and longing for moments lost. Yet, amidst the pain, she found strength in the enduring love she shared with Matthew, assuring him in spirit, "You haven't failed anybody. Your dad loved you, and I love you more than anybody on this earth." Through her unwavering love and resilience, Barbara Eden continues to honor the memory of her son, advocating for awareness and compassion in the face of addiction's devastating toll.